Hey guys, this is going to be a video on chain slip and the possible reasons that may be causing it. Now, in my opinion, there can be four sort of main reasons to cause chain slip. The first one is the most obvious one, and it's the scenario where either the chain or the gears here, or the chain, they are worn out, and if the gears wear out, the tops of the gears, they actually go down slightly, alright? And the chain starts slipping over the humps here, alright? Now, the second reason is sometimes happens when people repair their bikes, and is incorrect combination of the gears and chains. So for example, this is a 9-gear cassette, alright? And I have a 9-gear chain on this. But for example, if I accidentally put an 8 or 7-gear cassette on this, it's gonna create a lot of problems. It might work on the very lower gears or the very highest gears, but it's not gonna be working on the middle gears because it's too wide. It doesn't fit in the middle of these gears, alright? So that's the second reason. The third reason is also very common, and usually it happens when the derailleur here, or the front one here, is out of alignment, and it's sort of I'm going to show you in a moment. Basically, what it means is the derailleur is out of alignment. All right, that's the third one, and the fourth one, which is the I would say the most exotic one or the most rare one, is where you have a derailleur and you have a shifter, but they don't actually match, and that's actually happened on this bike, and I'm gonna explain it to you in a few minutes. So to start off with the first issue, which was chain wear. Now usually when the chain is worn out, it's as I said, it starts skipping over the gears. Now there's a really easy way of checking if your gears are too worn, and you can check by looking at the gears you use the most. If the gears that you use the most, for example, if you use the largest one the most, and it seems visibly more worn out than the one you use the least amount, which is maybe the smallest gear, alright? Then you can sort of assume that it's been worn out, okay? Now, if the chain is stretched out, but you put a new cassette in, it still might cause slipping or skipping, because the chain doesn't actually fit with the gears that you've just put on. Now, to test if the chain is worn out or not, I have a rag for this, but you can also use a specialized tool if you have it, or you can use some gloves. And what you do is, sorry about that, and you take the rag and you put it over the chain here, all right? I'm going to use my hands because I'm not afraid of oil. And then you try to pull the chain away this way, and then if, for example, and then if the chain does move away from the gear, then it's most likely worn out. If you can't stretch it out that way, then it most likely isn't stretched out. And as you can see, I can't really show you too well, but as you can see, I can stretch it out very little, almost nothing at all, just a few millimeters. This means that most likely it's still in prime condition and it's not stretched out. Alright, now if it does happen that your gears are worn out and or your chain is stretched out as well, and if you want to change them, make sure that you get the same amount of gears in the back, and you get the corresponding chain as well. Most bicycle shops sell these, change these. So if you don't have any experience yourself, because there are a lot of different combinations of cassettes and chains, you can just go and ask them, and they should be able to change it out pretty easily. Now, the second reason was the combination of an incorrect chain and a cassette. Now, as I explained earlier, if you're going to use a cassette that has 9 gears in the back, and you're going to use a chain which is meant for a 7 or 8 gear cassette, it's going to be too wide. So it might work on the top gears, and it might work on the lowest 2 gears, but in the middle where there's not a lot of room, it might start wobbling a bit and skipping over the gears. All right. Now, the third reason why gears don't work is misalignment. So just give me a second, I'm gonna readjust and then I'm gonna show you what I mean. Alright, so as you can see, the chain lines up with the derailleur quite well. Alright, here. Now, if the derailleur is slightly that way or slightly this way, then it can actually cause the chain to slip on the gears, and actually it can cause a lot of grinding and creaking noises. So I'm going to show you a really easy way to fix that as well. All right. So if your rear derailleur or front derailleur is slightly off, you can correct it by slightly tuning the shifter on the handlebars. So this is my rear shifter right here, and as you can see, I can change it down from here and up from here. All right. Now, so these are the levers here, and this here, the lower one, this is the adjustment knob. All right. So, for example, I'm currently on what looks to be the 3rd gear, and if I know that my rear derailleur is trying to change the gear to a lower setting, it probably means that the cable is slightly too loose, or it's not tightened enough. So what you do is you go to the adjustment knob here, all right, and then you turn this knob, you turn it out for about 1 turn, and then you try to ride it again and see if it's still trying to change or not. And you can adjust this pretty much, and by just turning it, maybe, you know, depending on the situation. If it's really off, then give it a turn, do a full rotation here on the adjustment knob, and then take a ride. Or if it's just very, very slightly off, you can do minor adjustments, turning it maybe 1/4 turn, such as this, and that's it, no more. All right. Now, if it turns out that your cable is too tight and you change it to the, for example, the 5th gear, but it's trying to climb itself onto the 6th one, all right, then what you do is you actually release 1 turn, 1 full turn, for example. And this loosens the cable slightly, which brings back the derailleur. As you saw from the previous clip, I showed you the alignment, and that's sort of how it should be. Alright? Alright. So, as you saw from my video earlier, there were 3 main reasons for chain slip or chain skipping. And now I'm going to go on to the 4th reason, which is the most rare or exotic one, and this happens very rarely indeed. As you can see, my rear derailleur is a SRAM, and as you can see from the previous video segment, that my shifter is also from a SRAM product line. Unfortunately, because that specific SRAM was designed for Shimano rear derailleurs, it doesn't really work with SRAM ones. Now, it does align up, and pretty much everything, well, it does align up, and some of the gears work, but only some of the gears. because the changing pattern for Shimano shifters is different from SRAM shifters. So what this does is essentially I have the right chain, I have the right cassette, I have the right derailleur, but I have the wrong shifter.